An entire world is ready for you to start your career teaching the path to wellness.
Mastering the science of mindfulness.
And the art of coaching.
To help clients achieve mental, emotional, and physical betterment of life.
Through movement,
nutrition,
recovery, and regeneration.
Because impacting one person impacts a family.
Impacting a family impacts a community.
And impacting a community impacts the world.
Become an NASM certified wellness coach.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts here with my co-host and friend, Mr. Ken Miller. Ken, how are you today?
Oh, Wendy, couldn't be better. Just got my batteries recharged, ready to rock and roll.
I love it.
Had a good week. Had a good week last week. And you know what? Want to know why?
Why?
Well, last week I had the opportunity to present at the California Athletics and Physical Education Workshop in San Luis Obispo, California. And I met some listeners. So shout out to Dania, who I've already known. She's like, yeah, listen to your stuff. You guys do a great job. Some interesting topics you guys picked there. So that was one part. And then of course, to be able to speak to a group of people outside of personal training and strength conditioning. So PE teachers and coaches. So to take this information into that realm for people that are there to help to educate the youth and keep them, healthy and strong through sport and physical education. So I always have a great time with those guys at that conference. So great week, gives perspective on, what it is that we do when it comes to fitness and physical education. And, we did that episode on physical education. So it made me think about that. So, and one more thing, Wendy, I found a little shout out to High Street Deli, the best Dutch Crunch turkey avocado I've ever had. I just want to put it out there. Yeah. So if you're like me and Dutch Crunch turkey avocado is your sandwich of choice, that was the place to go.
Wow, that sounds amazing, with the exception of the avocado part, because I'm allergic to avocado.
That's right. You would have to have the little something, EpiPen or something for you.
I know. Those of you guys that do listen to Random Fit, we do want to say thank you for being a part of our show. We love doing these every single week, talking about a lot of different topics that are randomly everything fitness. And just a little inside thing, I'm allergic to avocado, along with Dr. Rick Ritchie. He is the only other human that I know that's also allergic to avocado. Okay. But, anyway, so thank you all for listening. And Ken, that's awesome. So congratulations on the presentations. I'm sure they were phenomenal, as always. So, yeah.
It was good. But, it's funny because we think about what I just did last week in that presentation. So, had a chance to talk about a couple topics on fitness and wellness and exercise technique and all the things that you and I talk about. But then I look at what we're talking about today about, working with the active older adult and staying active as an older adult. So, with what we did last week, or what I did last week with them, is just the other bookend of what we're talking about today. So I thought that's like, parody, so
yes. And again, that was one of the reasons we were talking about doing this episode. Is I actually had two different scenarios that happened to me last week, but mine were all family related. And my dad is older. I've talked about him in previous episodes. He's 81. He'll be 82 in September. And, this man was, he was like my idol. I mean, he still is my idol because he's my dad. But growing up, he did everything. He did all the yard work. He helped move things. Like he, played golf. He was very active. And I say was, but, and I know we've talked about this before. Unfortunately, his wife got sick. And so he had to stop playing golf. And this man played golf every single day. And there's been a huge change in his ability now to do things, which is really scary. But then his sister, so my aunt or my aunt, depending on where you're from, is 3 years older than my father, and she will probably outlive me. And this lady goes to dance classes, and she goes to the park, and she goes for walks every day, and literally lives by herself, cooks meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for herself. She is super active in her church and her, the different groups that she's a part of. And I'm like, how is this possible when you look at the differences? Same genetics, same family, but completely different scenarios. And I think it's important that we do talk about staying active as an older adult, because Ken, you and I, we're getting older every day.
Yeah. If you're above ground, you are getting older. But I'll say, that's one unifying point between your father and my dad is just my dad golfs as well. And, he's like most other Americans, people in general. It's just, he also comes across that occasional low back pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which takes him off of the golf course. And, one of the things that observing those situations where he can't play. Now, not only is he limited in movement and he's obviously uncomfortable and in pain, but when he's got those low back episodes, then what happens is that he can't golf. Well, he's got 3 of his buddies that he's outside with, 4 or 5 hours at a time, between warming up and then actual practice. And then, of course, a little social time afterwards. That's time in his week that he's missing. Right. So there's also that big social aspect that I know I miss from my dad when he doesn't get to go out, when he tells me he's got low back pain, because that'll take him out for a week plus, as it will for a lot of people, because with golf, as an example of a sport that you can play as a active older adult, it's an explosive sport. Right. And you have to be able to swing that club as fast as you can, as accurately as you can. But if you can't rotate, through the whole body, then you can't play, right? So that's one of the bigger parts of it all, is just not just the exercise part, getting outside, getting some fresh air, but there's also time with other people that you're missing when you're not an active person, especially in those social environments.
Well, yeah, and those of you guys that are joining Ken Miller and myself, Wendy Batts, here today on Random Fit, we're talking about staying active as an older adult. And, if you're looking at, any research, or you read anything about anyone that is, getting older, we look at those and they really go hand in hand when you start thinking about osteoporosis, osteopenia, which is, again, that kind of precedes usually the osteoporosis part, like the degenerative discs and low back pain. And of course, unfortunately, obesity, because as we get older, sometimes we don't move as much. And so a lot of these things really do go hand in hand. But there's been so much positive research showing that, like, when we're looking at resistance training, especially for older adults, that, balance is going to improve, strength is going to improve, bone density improves. And, I think those are the key points I know today that we're really going to try to remind us. I mean, we all know it's important, but a little bit of something every day really does make such a huge difference. Because to your point, Ken, and I know we're talking a lot about golf, but like for my dad, when he came to visit, my son loves to go to Top Golf and loves to play. We've got him in all different types of sport. And we thought, this will be great. My dad loves to play golf. Braden loves to, he loves to play golf and, just hit the ball. He didn't know what he's doing yet. But my dad tried to get up and swing a golf club. And this is something he was doing every day, up until the last 6 months. And he almost fell over. And so the loss of balance is not even just the power production, but, and it was really scary. And now him getting on ladders or him trying to do things that are activities of daily living, he's not able to do, or able to do without the chances of something bad happening. And so, gotta get on a road trip and go help him do things that he would normally do. Like I said, when I was younger, it was nothing. It takes him 5-10 minutes to do something.
Right.
Now I'm like, please don't do it. Just put it on a list and I'll do it when I get there, which is kind of sad and scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for those of us that do have, contact with the older generation, like with me, I have uncles and aunts that are definitely, as you're describing, But, the thing about it is, and they know what I do, Wendy. And when we talk about exercise, because they always say, because the funny thing is, like, I still get, no matter what the age, I still get questions. Well, how do I lose this fat? How do I lose weight? Right. And you're talking about bone density,
Right.
coordination and balance and strength. And still, a lot of what comes up are the cosmetic stuff. It's like, my dresses don't fit, my pants don't fit. And, hey, that's all a part of it. Those are things that do happen when you lose muscle. Right. And you're losing the stuff that helps burn more calories throughout the day, but you're still eating the same. Right. So there's still that energy or that caloric balance that we need to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, what really needs to matter and what needs to be on the forethought is okay, well, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to do those daily activities like you mentioned, Wendy? It's, picking things up, putting things away, reaching things from odd positions, and, resistance training, and, trying to stay active. And, sometimes we have to go outside of our normal activities to maintain those options, as far as, okay, I need to resistance train. I need to have some impact to keep bone density. And those are behaviors that, no matter what the age, it's never too late to start those activities to maintain strength, coordination, balance, and all those things that you already mentioned.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at the research again, us being the research nerds that we are, when you're looking at the like musculoskeletal degeneration, it is not necessarily always about age related, situations. And I think that's what's hard, especially the degeneration part. Most of the times when things aren't aligned properly and we've had, joints that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing because certain muscles are overactive and certain muscles are underactive, we're recruiting other muscles to do the jobs of those main muscles that should be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so therefore, we end up, having bulging discs, and we end up having all of these issues when, there is a way to keep that from happening. And, if we don't, and we just let it, keep on going on and on and on, we notice it more as we get older. And so I think, that's one of the reasons, again, if you're joining Ken Miller and I today on Random Fit, talking about staying active as an older adult, it is so important to really think about strength training. And it's not just the activities that you're doing, do something different, because, lifting weights really does make such a huge impact on how you feel, your energy level, but on just when you're thinking about what it does for your bones and your muscles together, there's such a huge, there's just so much positive research of benefit that this can happen, that this plays. And I think that's something that I know we've talked about so many times, but I keep wanting to bring this to the forefront, because as I'm getting older, I've got to remind myself that too.
Yeah. So, and when we're talking about this topic and putting things together, one of the things that comes to mind is my group of older gentlemen that I used to work with face to face when I was still working at the country club. And the thing about it is, the average age of, this three person group that I have now, it used to be 5 or 6 people that would do the morning workouts at 5:30 in the morning. But the average age of the group now, I believe, is something like 71 years old. Right. So, of course, with incorporating of Zoom and virtual training, we reunited, especially well after, time after leaving the country club. But when you talk about the need for resistance training and lifting weights, it doesn't just have to be lifting weight. You don't have to have a modality to pull and pick up and put down. Body weight exercises can be just as impactful when it comes to challenging, muscles, bones, nervous system, coordination, and things like that. So we all go online and we go through a workout, but these guys, they're doing push-ups, they're doing, the world's greatest, we're doing balance exercises, we're doing, they have a variation of lighter dumbbells, up to, 15, 20 pounds, but not necessary, right? Because 85-90% of our workouts body weight anyway, because we're working on conditioning. They are a group of aging older adults, and they like to golf, they like to bike, they like to hike. So they're very much trying to stay active and be, integrated into society and into the world, as far as being able to stay vital in their community. So, we are together twice a week, and we're doing a lot of majority body weight exercises, but I try to keep their exercises varied. I try to keep it so that they're not doing one thing all the time. But, as it is with the methodology that you and I follow when it comes to training, flexibility, core, balance, making sure that they can react, and then throw in some conditioning and some strengthening. And they're still able to do everything, that they want to do. Actually, just yesterday when I was training them, they were talking about how they had a golf tournament. One of them had a golf tournament and didn't turn out the way he wanted, but, he was there till the end. So that's a big plus. And he's, 77 years old. The gentleman I'm talking about. So good job, Greg.
and if you look at everything too, I mean, like, Ken and I were talking about this methodology. Of course, we use the NASM OPT model, which is a progressive stepping stone from really working on stabilization, strength, and then getting yourself into power. And the resistance portion of it, again, is so important, because when you're looking at strength training programs, oftentimes people are like, oh, I don't need to lift heavy, or I shouldn't do power because I'm getting older, and like, what would I need that for? And I'm thinking, you have grandkids, you need to throw them around, you need to put them in a car seat, you have to pick them up to help them. You don't want to fall with your hands full, especially if you're holding on to your bundle of joy. And, it's been shown that these participation in strength training programs, it's going to not only increase your physical appearance, of course, that's what, most people want to do, but your performance, motor control, which is huge, because again, we need to make sure that all circuits are firing, especially as we get older. It's going to assist in, prevention of falls and in management of that, as well as management and prevention of type 2 diabetes, which is huge. It's going to improve insulin sensitivity. It's going to improve your bone density. It's going to increase your metabolism, which again, that's what everybody wants, but it also reduces your blood pressure and body fat. So it's a win-win, but we think, as a certain age, we're just trying to get through the day, when in all reality, if you are really thinking about designing your program, whether it's for yourself or if you have a trainer that's really trying to be very careful in designing a program, you have to make sure it's progressive. You have to make sure that you're doing it with really good form, slowing things down at first. So therefore, when you start to increase your weight, or you increase the speed as which you're moving the weight or doing things with, with your program or your workout, your body can handle that. And then therefore, when it transfers over and you are playing with your grandkids that are like, I know for me, just playing with my kid, I had him a little bit later in life. People are going to think I'm his grandma probably by the time he gets into high school.
Stop.
But I want to be able to keep up with them. And it's important. And that's why I do so much reading it as I'm getting older, because I want to make sure that I am capable of doing everything. Plus, I don't want him having to take care of me when I know that I can take care of myself. And I think that's the big message we want to say here. Like, just because you're older, now's the time to step up your game a little bit.
Are you going to be one of those stubborn grandmas? They're like, I got it. Leave me alone. I could walk down the stairs myself.
You know me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Poor kid.
I
All
know,
right.
right?
Yeah, when he's watching this podcast, later on in life, he can say, "Oh, Mom, I should have listened to that."
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I put out a speed ladder the other day, and my little man is 6, and I was trying to teach him the different patterns because I thought it would be fun to do. And so I taught him 3 that I normally do with my athletes, and again, some of my older clients who love, I'm trying to teach them to pick up their feet, because as we know too, unfortunately, as people age, they want to scoot their feet or kind of shuffle. And that's not what you want, because your toe can get caught up on a piece, some carpet, or it's easier to trip. And so we were teaching my little son some of the moves, and I was like, okay, now we're going to speed this up. and I raced him. And, my husband's like, are you going to let him win? I'm like, no, hello. Like, he's going to have to work for it. And the same thing with
Earn it.
We have them race each other. I don't care your age. You have to do it really well, but it makes it fun. And
Right.
so again, all of your training should be fun, but I think the big thing is one of the key points I wanted to take out or wanted to express today is it's not always, to your point, just about body weight. I mean, if that's all you have, yes, but it's actually okay to lift heavy, but heavy with your ability to control. Because again, there's been so much positive research. That's truly what's going to help your bone density too, is lifting a little bit more than you're normally doing on a daily basis with just your body weight.
Right. And, it is about lifting heavy stuff. We have to challenge the muscle. So, but it's also about challenging the nervous system, right? So when we talk about the progressive nature of a strategized workout plan, one of the things that goes underrepresented in programs, especially for the active aging adult, is the lack of power, right? Or we tend to be a little bit, as a fitness industry or a wellness industry, is we're afraid to have older clients move fast. We're afraid to have clients move with heavy resistance. But guess what? That is the last thing we need to be afraid of. But again, when you've assessed the client, they're qualified, you've progressed them, then they can lift heavy things. They need to lift heavy things because, as the muscular system starts to degenerate, so does the nervous system. We just don't pay enough attention to the nervous system. And how do you stimulate the nervous system? We got to move at different speeds, move in different directions. We got to stimulate the body to go, to go to its boundaries of what it's capable of doing. So unless the body's challenged in these different realms, we're not going to tap into that, right? So if we do what the body is already used to doing, there is no reason to change. So we have to do all those things. So we have to think about it. We have to progress it. We have to be responsible. Again, qualified clients, they've got these issues that tend to come with a deconditioned active ager. Then, we have to be more responsible when it comes to, okay, well, what's going to be the best thing for this client today? But we have to move fast, whether that's, we're not talking about throwing a 20-pound med ball. Right? It could be something as simple as throwing a volleyball, something light, but hey, it's the fastest they're going to move that day. Right. But again, we have to be able to, keep that in mind. It's like to stay active, we have to move heavy stuff and we have to move fast just to keep the muscles and the nervous system fired up. And without that, then we're just going to go on the backside of that slope when it comes to what our capacity for work is.
Yep. And if you're just joining Ken Miller and I today on Random Fit, we're talking about staying active as an older adult and the importance and just in research, but then also, I think, Ken, you kind of just, you said it, and I'm going to actually repeat it again. You have to know your abilities. And so doing some kind of assessment and making sure you're getting cleared and, that you're able to do some of the stuff that you're able to do before you just go and lift heavy. I know as a trainer, like if I had someone come in and, they're used to sitting down, they struggle standing up. Again, I'm going to use my dad as an example there. I know that his sense of balance is not great. So I'm not going to be like, okay, Dad, today's the day we're going to lift heavy. It just wouldn't make sense. It would really be working on the fundamental movements of life just to make sure that he's sturdy enough. And then as he worked on these programs and got his ability to have a better sense of balance and, he was supportive, then we could start to build a stronger foundation of lifting things heavier. Now with my aunt, like I said, she's even older. I mean, like when I said this lady, she does line dancing twice a week, y'all. Twice a week, this lady goes and dances for an hour with her friends. She's like, she came to my wedding and she's like, I want to do this, and this kind of dance. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. So she's out there leading our dance floor at my wedding and showing us how to move. And she rocked it. She's got rhythm. She was amazing. Everyone's loving it. Her grandkids were out there, dancing with her. And it was just, it brought the family together. And then you're looking at her like, there's nothing this lady cannot do. And age isn't a factor. We've talked about it, and Ken, you and I were even thinking maybe we should do a podcast. Age is just a number. It's what are you mentally and physically, where are you in life there? And I think, but she's always worked out. She's always been active her entire life. And, I think too, thinking she gets out and she walks. And so she's not running. She doesn't want to run. She's like, I don't need to run, but she walks at a fast pace with her friends. Again, very social. And when you look at, again, research, when you're thinking about even cardiorespiratory training and aerobic training, again, it's going to be progressive. She didn't just start, walking 3 or 4 miles a day. She started a little bit at a time, built a really good foundation. But when you look again at the benefits of aerobic exercise, it's shown to improve delivery of oxygen to your muscles. It's going to control your blood pressure. You're able to, not lose your capacity. You don't get winded as easy. And like I said, she's able to walk and do everything that I can do. And she's, double my age. And so I think that's also important. Don't look at the number, especially if you're a trainer working with an older client. Look at their ability, look at their assessment, look at what is it that they're there for? And then just know that it's okay to build a good foundation, build the strength. And like you said, then do power the way that, not necessarily we're saying 1 rep max and stuff. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm going to give her, these really heavy dumbbells to see what her 1 rep max is. It doesn't make sense, but I want her to lift something heavy. So because she lives by herself, if she gets herself in a situation where she needs to move something off of her because something fell, I want to know that she could do that, and that she fell and didn't break a hip too.
Yeah, exactly. If there's any one thing, I mean, you just, knock on wood, the falls, that's that, we haven't talked about that, but if anything that we're getting to, the big point is fall prevention, because we know that for a lot of people, why they fall: loss of balance, lack of strength. And then of course, when they have the impact, what's the big fear? Breaking the hip. And in some situations, it's the hip breaks and then they fall. Well, Wendy and I are talking about today is just about, okay, what are we going to do leading up to, our later years to prevent that? Well, better coordination, better strength, more muscle, more bone density. Well, exercise, right? Resistance training, lifting heavy, staying active. And in the end, that's the thing that's one of the big things that we are really trying to prevent is, and it's one of the more preventable aspects of, older adult injuries, right? Especially when you think about the mortality rate once somebody does fall and starts to incur those situations is, okay, we have to do what we can to prevent all that. But progressive resistance training, lifting heavy, challenging the nervous system balance, coordination, we need to do all of that. And I'll say, Wendy, in kind of wrapping up this recording of Random Fit, when I did leave the country club some years ago, the guys were nice enough to take me out to breakfast. And when we were wrapping up breakfast and, it was my last day there, they asked, okay, do you have any parting words for us? Right. And, we didn't know that we were going to be reunited later on. Right. And being able to continue virtually, that wasn't a thing at the time. But any parting words for us as you leave our facility, and say, hey, listen, you guys are already doing it. Right. They're golfing, they're skiing, they're going to the snow, snowshoeing, all these things, hiking, biking, they're doing all those things. And I said, hey, you guys have already tapped into it. The key is, if you're doing it, keep doing it, right? Don't stop. As many things as you can hold on to, do the different sports, do it often as you can, right? Get outside, stay active, for all the social benefits of being with each other and being a part of nature, for what you're doing. But I know that for our listeners, not everybody's at that point. So, and Wendy, you brought up the research, and one of the things that we didn't bring up is that there's no point in life that research hasn't shown that you cannot improve in strength training, in improving or at least staving off, bone loss. strength gains, cardiorespiratory strength and endurance. There's no point in life that when somebody starts, no matter if they're 20 or 80 or 90, that you cannot make improvements. So if you're not doing these things that we're talking about already, do that. Get out there, find a trainer, talk to your doctor. Is it safe? What do I need to take into consideration? And then get started, right? The key is just getting started if you haven't done it already. But if you're doing it, keep doing it. Don't stop.
Well, I mean, I think you just summed that up pretty well. I mean, I my parting words, because again, when I moved, I had a couple clients myself that were a little bit older. And the one thing that they said to me, I didn't give them parting words. They actually gave them to me and said, ever since you came into my life and you started working with us, one of the things that I can say is I go through my day without worry now. I do things and don't even think about it. It's like second nature because I know that I can. And so just realize too, just being able to be confident in your moving, in your steps, and the things that you're doing. I mean, mentally, that takes such a huge stress off of us, which we know stress obviously can cause issues too. And so it's good for your mind. It's good for your body. It's good for your bones. It's good for everything. And just don't be scared that if you're getting older and you haven't done anything before, it's, as Ken just said, it's definitely not too late to start. Just be smart in your exercise choices. Make sure you move with a purpose. You move without compensation. You're slow in your movement to start. And, don't get yourself so sore where you're going to give up. Just do a little bit at a time and then work your way up. But, make sure that it's always something different, because that's only going to help too.
Yep. So
there you go.
Miss Batts, great episode.
Yeah,
So again, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of this recording is, shout out to those at Cape Workshop. You as PE teachers and coaches, you get them started young, and hopefully, you inspire them and you give them enough tools that they keep that up for the rest of their life. So shout out to those that work with our youth, because those youth will sometimes be an active older adult. So thank you guys for doing what you can to get the kids started off on the right foot. So Wendy Batts, thank you so much for everything today. I always learn and take something away from our talks on Random Fit. So for those of you listening, and again, shout out to Dania for listening to Random Fit. If there's anything that you would like to hear us talk about or discuss or research and give more information on regarding fitness and wellness and anything Random Fit wise, just let us know. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, and let us know what we can do for you. So until next time, take care and be well.